Before we get started with the project today, I'd like to show you what the apple trees look like after we've pruned them. Here's the biggest one that I've pruned fairly aggressively. Probably took a solid third of the tree down. As you can see, lots of flowers, lots of leaves, looks very healthy, looks very happy. There's a couple branches near the top that I couldn't simply reach just because they were too high. But I will eventually get a little pole trimmer or a saw on a pole. A couple of branches that have been eaten probably by little rodents that might have to come down eventually, but otherwise looking fairly healthy. This is one of the trees that I had to take full branch off because it was riddled with fire blight, and we can see here that this branch here is not doing so well. Actually, nothing here bloomed. It's all dead, so I'll probably cut that off so the tree doesn't waste any energy on this branch and it's interfering with this one here. But we are getting some flowers. Obviously different timing, different type of apple. This is the one that I trimmed on camera, that I pruned. Looks to be doing fairly well overall. Had to trim back a lot of fire blight, but overall looks very happy. This year we're doing something different for the garden. We're taking the same approach as we took for the orchard and the Christmas tree farm. Basically, we're using wood chips and cardboard as mulch and weed barrier, as a natural weed barrier. I've come to realize though, you need a lot more cardboard than you think you need. Over here is a tree I barely touched, but I've come to realize that lots of signs of fire blight on this one. So I decided not to trim it too much. A bit more here. Not to trim it too much and just see how it goes. And then we'll go from there. If it does well, great. If it doesn't, then it doesn't. I am fairly sure that every single apple tree here is the same except that small one at the back here. And as you can see here, the top branch bent down, so that one will not want to grow anymore. That one will be more in a tree producing shape, and all the new growth happen on this side here that's pointing up. That's going to eventually probably become its new central leader. Here's the one I was the most aggressive with. I cut down everything except the only branch that was basically new. All I did was I took a little knife and I scratched the bark to see if it was green inside. Anything else that was brown or dead got cut off. This thing was also full of fire blight, and you can see there are traces of fire blight on the trunk. So I don't know how well it'll do. I don't expect any fruits this year because it's probably gonna just want to grow and regrow. And as you can see, it doesn't seem like it's the most solid tree, and it would be in the way of the expansion of the garden, so we'll see. And then this last one's not doing too well or too bad. The problem is it's in a very shaded spot. It doesn't have a lot of sun, and we can see traces of fire blight a little everywhere. Last year it flowered, but didn't give us any fruits. Originally I wanted this spot to be the spot for the eventual bigger greenhouse, but because of this beautiful giant white pine, it's blocking out a lot of the sun after 2 p.m. So we're not getting a full day's worth of sun, and such a nice tree, it'd be a shame to take it down. So we'll have to rethink our approach. The garden this year over there, I'm gonna build a raised garden bed for the potatoes. At the bottom, I'm gonna put some hardware cloth. Either 1/4 inch or 1/2 inch, because I don't want rodents to eat my potatoes like they did last year. And I'll probably stick the pumpkins back in the pumpkin patch over there, see how they do. I've been toying with the idea of a method to more easily water the orchard. I think I'm going to use this IBC tote, fill it up with water from the shallow well, and then just ferry it over there with the tractor, elevate it on a platform as high as I can, and then use gravity and a regular garden hose to water everything, so I don't have to fairy water. And if you don't know, this is the well that came with the property. Within a month of us being here, it went dry. So we had to spend money that we were not expecting to spend on a deep well. But it does hold some water, just not at the right capacity and not enough to feed the house, but enough to somewhat refill this container so that we can use that as our source of water for the orchard for now, while we work out a more permanent solution. Extremely windy day today. I don't know if the wireless mic I'm wearing can pick it up, but you can hear wood creaking and cracking. And because so many trees have been damaged by the windstorm last year and the ice storm that happened a month ago, I would not want to be walking in the woods right now, because for sure some trees will come down. You can still see the remnants. You can see still some branches everywhere of the ice storm, and there's a lot of branches still hung up in the trees. Here we are in the Christmas tree farm. We can see here that the growing season has started for the trees, which is amazing. Every tree here is starting to add to its canopy, get bigger. And before we know it, it'll be time for the first trim for these trees ever. We have flowers coming in, some white, there are some yellow ones, there are some orange ones. It's very beautiful. I will wait until the flowers have died before the first mowing. And then we are mid-May right now. Probably in 4 or 5 weeks, I will come back and I'll start shaping these trees. Some of them won't need much, but you can already see in this case that there is a second central leader starting to grow, which we don't want competing. So in this example, this one would have to go. This one very full, very nice, but just not the proper shape. I want to make sure that everything grows nicely. We'll probably get rid of the oaks that grow in here. We'll get rid of the red pines that are not wanted. I only like to keep them in that row over there. And anything that's not viable as a Christmas tree will get turned into wood chips, and eventually I'd like to cover the ground with wood chips for mulch and weed control. Well, those were the quick updates from the homestead. The orchard is doing really great. The Christmas tree farm is doing great. The trees we planted, you'll see in the video soon. Seems like they're all happy. None of them have died so far. 150 trees, 100 spruce and 50 firs. The old section is doing really well. We just have to figure out which ones we're keeping, which ones we are keeping, which one we are getting rid of. And a sneak peek, I want to try for this season, when I trim the trees, whatever is considered new growth, I want to see if I can't get them into pots and start these as seedlings instead of me purchasing them. Especially if we find a nice specimen that has some good genetics, good shape, disease resistant. For example, this one, good shape, very full, doesn't seem to be affected by disease. So how about I take this tree and try to replicate this tree with the leftover cuttings when we shape it, instead of buying seedlings that I don't know where they came from. We'll see if it works really well. From what I read, trying to duplicate and propagate conifers is not the easiest thing to do, but honestly, a little pot of rooting hormone costs $10, and that's about all the monetary expenses required to try this. The rest is just my time and see if it works. And I hear that it takes about a year for the cuttings to be viable, to be planted back in the ground. And if it works, great. If it doesn't, then we'll just keep doing what we're doing. But I would love to try and replicate the trees that I know produce nice shapes and are fairly disease resistant. Whether they be Colorado blue spruce or firs. Well, thank you so much for watching, everyone. If you've liked it, make sure to like and subscribe. Comment down below. Let me know if you have any questions, comments, or suggestions. Otherwise, I will see you in the next video. Take care.